Hey again guys, today we're just doing the install in the Mazda BT50 2012 to 2018 like 19, a bit of the years. Your head unit will look like this, with like no screen and that small screen up top. If you have a newer model with a different badge, I think the XTR, they have the Polaris sort of screen in here, so that just has a screen here and some buttons on every side. So like this install video will cover that too. It's the same, it's just that the harness kit we have for the radio and these hazard buttons are different. Like both of those are included in the kit, so it's going to cover whatever model you have that's in that year range. If you have the older model BT 50, we have a model for that, and if you have the newer BT 50, we have another model for that. So just check our website and you can check out those. So these basically have steering wheel controls here, which is good, so these will retain working. You've obviously got this screen at the top here, same sort of style as the Ford screen. Hasn't got too much going on there. Obviously if you go into reverse, they had the camera up on here, so you probably, if I go back into reverse, you'll see that come on up here. This model has no reverse camera. If you have the factory one up here, we can give you some instructions on how to get it coming up on our screen here. And like this case here, we don't have any reverse camera, so we're going to put our one in and we'll show you how to do that. There's no factory USB ports on this model, I don't believe, so we'll run our ones out somewhere else. Yeah, it's about everything, so we'll go ahead and we'll start to take the old unit out and put the new one in. First thing I'm going to do is you got some trim tools in the kit. You want to take off this AC surround down here, just prop your trim tool under here and give that little lever out, and then you can actually get your hands in there and you'll find it will just pull out. There's a plug on the back here, take that out, just a push down one, so push that and pull it back, and that's your AC out. Then what you have next is this actual whole thing here around the whole head unit is going to come out. I'll just twist this back a bit so you can see. So it is plastic, so you just come around with your hands and just give it a few wiggles. I'll pull this off for now. It's a huge piece, so it comes all the way up here and around. What I'm going to do again, get a trim tool in there, just start by working it up behind at the back here. Here. And just take your time doing it. One thing I should have done there that I didn't do here, in the top of the screen there's a small SD card. I should push that out, so just get your trim tool and push in the end of it and it'll pop out. It's not needed anymore, but where they had it in here, and again get your hands on here and you'll find that whole bit comes off like that. And on the back you've got, again, just a single plug here that we took out, and that's that huge piece that just came out like there. So you can see it's got plugs on the back, so you pop the bottom out first and then kind of pull it back towards you, and that'll get the whole unit coming out. So it's a fairly straightforward install. And then we come in here and you can see we got two Phillips that are going to need to come off to pull out that main head deck, and then you've obviously got your top screen up here that we are no longer keeping, so I'll show you how we get rid of all that. So pull that out too, and this whole unit comes out, and just got two plugs in the back here. Again, press the tab down the top, and then this one here has a small tab on it as well to press down and pull out. So that's the main radio part out there. Now this top piece is also going to come out, no longer needed, but you can basically see that came out of our radio buttons, that came out of the radio, that came out of the radio, this came out of the AC. So just keeping an eye on where the different ones came from. Again, two Phillips on the top here, and is it not sort of it was just a link to the bottom part, because it's all going to be on our touchscreen on our units. So that will lift out of there. Then on the back of here you could have a few little plugs. This is a little cam lock one that you push the back here, and this should slide over. So you push in the back and you slide that forward and that pops off. Again, all these other ones just have little tabs you need to push down on and they will come out. A little bit hard to get the trim tool in there to pop them out. Let's get that off. It's just a little bit tough. You can see that's the latches on them, the top there. So you just got to push down the little white knob here quite hard. If it doesn't come off, actually push it back on and then push it down like really hard at the start and then pull it off. You actually get it off. So you can see all the plugs that came out here. Something which is interesting because there's no navigation on this, I don't think. So that's basically it, that's everything out. Now we'll just go and cover what we have in our kit and then we'll go and put it back in. Now this is everything that comes in our kit. When you first open the box, you're probably like, well, there's a lot of like wires, but I'll explain them all and then it will start to make sense after that. So at the start we have our huge big fascia here because obviously that was it's like a massive part that comes off. You can see no top screen, obviously touchscreen HD head unit. This is our M series, the new hazard and lock switches, like the AC vents will come off the old fascia. Lay this down and see this is our unit. Some of the clips will swap across. The unit here, basically we call these our auxiliary plugs, our main 20 pin plug, a 4G antenna, GPS, AM, FM. Well, that's fairly straightforward. We will cover that. Now we'll start here. So all these cables here that all have our 20 pin plug on the end, 1, 2, 3, are all in this kit because there's 3 different models here. So just the one that's going to fit your model is going to be the only one that like fits. So on this model the plug was like this one, so that's the only one that's going to fit. These other plugs aren't going to fit, so you can like throw these ones in the bin. So we just have 3 in here because it's just like easier, then people get what they need for each model and they can hook it up. So that is our easy connection harness. So that is how you hook it into there. Then let's go through all our other things. Obviously got hydration assistant here, pretty key. Our third USB port, so this will go into our auxiliaries and we will put this somewhere. We have 3 USBs coming out, like some people use them for our dash cam or TPMS or hanging them down. It's good to have like 1 free for just to run updates, but you can choose where you put those. These are our 2 other USBs and our external mic. Again, you can run these without need to or plug whatever you need to into them. This here is to adapt the hazard or like lock switch like the new ones. This is to run an auxiliary, which we on this model I don't think will be needing still. So needed. This is to adapt the AM FM antenna because it had one of these sort of plugs, and then that goes into our unit. This is to keep the factory USB. If your model had sort of this option, obviously this one doesn't, so we have to worry about that. This is where you can put like a SIM card in, a SIM with like the unit, which gives the unit the internet the whole time. 10% of our customers use this. It's up to you. Depends what you're doing with the unit. Auxiliary out. No, you need this if you're running a sub or an amp, which we are here, so we're going to be using that. Auxiliary in. These majority of the time are not used. They just give you an extra video input and auxiliary in. Our video input, so our reverse camera will come into our purple RCA here, and we can put a front camera into the other RCA if we want to, or we can use it for a caravan camera or whatnot. GPS antenna. This here is just our Bluetooth or Wi-Fi antenna. So if you're not using the pre-outs for like an amp, you can use leave these in the box and you just plug that one into that plug here, because we just did that so it saves everyone having all these extra wires hanging off the back, because a lot of people aren't even using them. A 4G antenna, a reverse beeper. This just plugs into our harness. A 1080p reverse camera. This is to keep, if you're a factory reverse camera, to keep the retention cable for that. Trim removal tools. A USB to do to run updates, so you only need to do that if you want to update the unit. That's normally if we release some new hardware or if something's not working right. These are just SBL connector that can help put the reverse camera in. OBD2 scan tool. You can get your engine data, check and clear engine fault codes, and a user interface manual for our M series here, which is this model here. So that's everything in the kit. Now we want to basically we want to test the unit. It's all going to power up before we get too excited and put it in. So check what cable you're going to need. Kind of like I said before, only the one that's going to fit is going to fit, so you can't go too wrong there. They all look completely different, so that's fairly straightforward. You are going to need this little plug up the top here. You just need to get rid of a couple of zip ties up here, and these come down. So that is actually this other plug here coming in here. This is just because this car has CAN bus box, which just means our head unit talks to the car system. Not all cars have that. That is basically all of that. Yeah, that's basically our power. What we can do is we can untwist this so there's a bit more like room. We just want to grab the head unit and pretty much plug this in and make sure we have power and getting sound. The one extra one we can do is, I just have to confirm which one is the FM AM antenna, but I think these models actually run 2. So we'll use our adapter and we'll just check we have. So I actually ended up, you can actually just pull these out there. They're just like clips that go on the side there. All these wires are going to pretty much end up down here, and we'll tape up the ones we don't need. But basically we've got our FM AM antenna here. it plugs in, goes into that. Our 20-pin plug, that's basically all we need. All these other plugs do not sort of worry about. They are for different things. That's going to go into that like beeper we had before. If you get confused, just call us on the phone, we're always here to help. So we grab our 20-pin, plug it in. This one's just a little bit hard because the fascia on it's so huge. You can just like rest it up there with your hand or whatnot. It's just going to sit there, that's fine. Turn the car on and we're just going to check we have power. Good sign, you can see we've got our logo coming up. It'll normally quick boot. It's just because it's the first time it's powered on. When you turn it off and on, like normally it'll quick boot up quite fast. Now all we're checking here so basically is that we have like some sound coming through. So we've got sound, so that's good. I'll check steering wheel controls. Steering wheel controls are working, so that's ideal. And you can see Triple J is coming here, the radio is working. A good thing to check too is we are in a tin shed here, but if we just do a scan on your AM, if you do listen to AM, I know a lot of people don't listen to it as much anymore, but that gives you a really good idea if it's working, because if you get on no AM stations, it means the antenna amp isn't hooked up or something's wrong. So we're getting a bit bad quality AM, but we are still up a couple of stations and we're in a tin shed, so I think that should be okay. So we've got steering wheel controls, we've got that. We'll try and put the car in reverse, we'll see if anything happens. Cool, we're getting the trigger from the CAN bus because we're hooked in the car's system, so that is pretty neat. We don't have to worry about the trigger wire or anything, and that is basically everything we need to check out. Everything's working, looking good. Alright, now we'll just go through and we'll cover sort of what we're going to put in where. So 2 USBs and external mic one. If you use one of our tyre pressure systems or our dash cam, obviously you probably want to use one for that. You just want them so you can easy sort of access them. So on this car, we normally put them into the sort of passenger footwell and sort of chuck them up onto the glove box. You can just put your hand down and feel what's through there. It feels like you can pretty easy slot these through to the glove box in this model. Pretty easy. I've run both of those through to the glove box now. We'll core them up and make them nice and tidy in the glove box. In the future, we'll see if we can get a dual USB to go on this blank here, like rocker blank. So there we go. External mic. Now, put the unit in kind of how I had it before. After you've done all this, I'll hook your phone up to CarPlay or Android Auto, and then just make a phone call. See what the quality's like. It should be okay. We don't have the external mics in the kit at the moment. We have had them before, and we might have them again in the future. It just depends. They seem to work fine without it. But if we do have one in the kit, you can throw it in and you can test both. And if it works okay, then you can just obviously run the external mic up to the corner here, and you normally tuck it in the A trim here and you put it up in here, and that's where you can put it. Third USB, I'm gonna do the same thing for, because again, you want somewhere sort of where you can get to it. This customer is not using our dash cam or anything yet, but if he does want to put a dash cam in or a tyre pressure system in the future, at least he doesn't have to pull the hedge unit out to get to those USBs. Pretty much like dash cam, USB, whatnot. It's like wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, so it's like normally you'll be charging off a quick charge cigarette plug. You can charge off our USBs, but they aren't a quick charge, so they'll be a bit slower. It's a bit like when you charge your phone at home, or if you charge it in the car, you'll notice it charges a lot quicker at home if you have a quick charge. A reverse beeper speaker, it's only going to match the plug it can fit into, and it just plugs in like that. Easy as that. Taped it up and we'll tuck it out of the way. It's also got a big stick pad here, so we can stick it somewhere so it doesn't shake around. Some models don't have reverse beepers or whatnot, but I'll put it in. SIM card, if you're going to want to give the the head unit its own internet. Again, you can hotspot the internet to it from your phone. Again, probably, I know 10% of our customers use this feature, but we will again probably put it in the glove box or the side trim here, so in the future if you do want to use it, it's easy to put the SIM card in. SIM card, you push that out, you flip this back, and it flips open the SIM card, it goes in there. So that's through. Now we've got our 4G antenna. Yeah, only going to be used if you're going to be using that SIM card, but we just stick it in anyway because you never know if you will use it or don't use it. A lot of people think it's a good idea or handy to have, but then they actually realise that a majority of the time they just use CarPlay or Android Auto, and then if they do want the offline maps or different stuff, they can just hotspot the internet from their phone and download things. Just depends your use case. So this basically needs a clear view of the kind of the sky without having any metal around it. It's a bit like your phone. It'll actually work fine because 4G is pretty powerful, but we normally just end up finding a good spot to stick it up, but we don't want to put it anywhere where it's going to be in the way of where we're going to put our fascia. we've just ended up sticking up the top there. Now, because we're big fans of using whatever factory is that we can, because car factories do a good job at making cars. That little ground plate there actually had the old GPS on it. We've like taken the ground plate off, had 2 torque screws, and the little GPS was actually just held on with 2 little Phillips heads. So we've taken that off, and we're just going to use that perfect spot to put our GPS. So our GPS is here. Again, all your GPS needs is a clear view of the sky through like the windscreen with no like metal above it. So that's a perfect location. It's giving us a little ground plate as well. Not needed, but it does help. And so we're just going to stick ours there. Now you'd actually have Woody stuck that down, but there's almost enough room there to put the actual 4G antenna in front of there if you wanted to. The reason why we don't use the old GPS in the car is because I think this is a 2013 or something. Yeah, it's a 2013. Our technology has come like a long way, and our GPSs work better. That is basically everything apart from now this little one here we took off before, coming off the radio. Now always be aware that like these things always drop down. So if you're missing a plug, look back for it because they all sort of match together. That plugs into there. That just gives a bit of an extension to plug into our hazards one. If you have the Polaris version, you're going to have 2 plugs here for your hazard and like lock, and so we will provide like a Y split cable for that, and that will just plug into the same plug here at the other end. That will go into our fascia for our hazard and lock buttons. So that Polaris screen, so that's the touchscreen model from factory, we'll have 2 plugs here, and we'll have a different harness in our kit. That's all looking pretty good. Now we'll probably take off what we need to take off on the old fascia and put it on our one. So here's the factory car one we just took off, and here's our one. So what we want to do here is we're going to take off the AC vents. So you can see you've got torque screws 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to pull off and go into our one. Screws going to match, fairly straightforward. Then you've got these clips 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now you can just get the trim tools or a flathead screwdriver in here and I'll pop them off. I will show that in a second. They're going to come off as well and go on our model. That's all we're taking off. So these clips, like I said before, if you get a flathead under one side, you sort of just lever it up, they'll pop off. So flathead under here, flick it off. These ones are quite good, they come off quite easily. And then goes off into our other one over here, pushes down. Easy as that. Go and I'll swap them all over, and that'll be good. And you can see that's the AC vents all finished there. So when you look at it from the front, it's all looking pretty good. Well, I'll take that back. I didn't check in the glove box up in the top corner here. There is a USB and auxiliary. Auxiliary like no one ever uses anymore, but a USB, that was the old one here. Runs into some wires, but what we've done is we've just included that. Oh, so you don't push all the way through, but that'll come through, and we'll just plug that into one of our USB ports coming out of here. Probably put it into the Android Auto one that says Android Auto on here. Plug these two together, and that's going to give you a tighter USB sticking out there in the glove box. So I'll just turn this on so you can probably see. And if you did want to keep that auxiliary port working, we do actually have it here. This plug in our kit will slot into here, and these two red and white ones will go into our brown auxiliary and red and white, and that'll keep your auxiliary port in the glove box working. We're not going to do it because no one really uses it anymore, but we do have it in the kit to keep everything as factory as it was. Okay, now up to the stage we're going to put everything back in. I've done some taping here, as you can see. You can tape as much as you want. You don't need to get too carried away, because ideally you sort of want everything to go in and sort of drop down in that space. Now I have stuck that speaker, that little round speaker, has a pad on the back just against a flat point back here. I've got all our cables ready here, and I'll go through each of these as we plug them in. I have taped up our main adapter harness a bit just so it can drop back a bit, our FM AM antenna, and I've taped back some of the factory plugs we aren't going to use. And you can see here I've running 4G ones and our GPS just down in the factory spot that the old ones were. Taped them up, and they are going to come in through here. Now I basically want to hook everything into the back of the unit to make sure it's all working, and then we'll go from there. So this customer is going to run in an amp, so we've just hooked the amp into our RCAs out here. We only have a single RCA out, so if you need dual RCA in for your amp in the back, you just need to use a Y splitter, an RCA Y splitter. Fairly straightforward. And you just have this one here, which I haven't hooked up yet, but that is our remote a wire here, the blue and like the orange one, so I'll actually connect those together now like that, and that's our remote for our amp. Majority of customers are not going to not going to worry about that. And then for this customer here too, we have ran our reverse camera, and he had the second one of our cameras which we'll put on the front here. Now after we put it all in, I'll explain how you do the reverse camera install. If you do like a factory one, well then you'd just be having the adapter harness that we supplied, which is a little black plug on it and like an RCA. The RCA goes into our purple cam in, and there's a trigger wire on here, this green trigger wire. On this model we don't need it, and normally the trigger wire would go to our orange and black wire coming out of our main harness here. There's this one on the far side. That's if you had the factory one, so it's a little bit different. If you had the factory camera, you'd be using the other plug that has the yellow RCA on it. It'll be plugged into our purple cam in and go into the back of our head unit, and there's a purple trigger wire on there as well, which can go to our orange and black wire on our harness here that says reverse. Alright, so now we'll grab a unit. Obviously like this unit too, just be a bit gentle because like the fascia is huge on it, so there's a lot of weight coming off onto the head unit here. So you can start on like one side, 20 pin a main plug, definitely need that. Plug that in, work your way across. Now this is the stage where you want to just take your time and make sure you plug everything in. This is our RCA pre-out and antenna cable. If you weren't sort of using the RCA outs, you'd just be using our little plug that had the blue wire on it. It's going to go into there like so. This is our cameras in. It's going to go down to there. So these plugs only fit where they can fit into, so can't go too wrong there. These ones I all sort of tape together. Pull the back a little bit, give myself a bit more to work with. That's our 4G SIM card. This is our 2 USBs bottom here, and this is our third USB, the purple one, which goes in here. We got this here, which is our lock and hazard one. Again, like I said before, if you have the Polaris model, you're going to have the 2 plugs, but it won't make any difference. You'll understand when you have it in the kit. It'll make sense to you. Plug that in. Now this is blue, but this is our GPS, even though it's kind of looks a bit off blue on here. That goes into there. This is our 4G antenna into here. Get our FM AM radio antenna. Now what I like to do after I've done that is just have a really good look, because I forget them still all the time still. Is anything missing? I don't think so. So now I'm just going to go and sit it here, power it up, check basically again that we have sound, reverse camera works, all like that sort of thing. And then after that, basically what we're going to do is lift up all the wires, let them drop down, and then slide the unit back in. We've got power, we can check our hazards, check our lock button was working, so that's good. Now our steering wheel controls are working, FM AM's working, steering wheel controls working, FM AM's working. Now it's front reverse. Our reverse trigger's working, but we're getting no signal and we're on the right one. Front camera. These, I'm going to check the camera connections here. Obviously our trigger's working, but our camera's not working, so I'm going to go and have a look at that. And our F-cam's not working either, which I've got a feeling is just a wiring issue with ground, so I'm just going to check both of those. Here we go. So that was our front camera, so that just had to be on 720/25. That's working okay. Now with the front camera, we're just going to see how good a view we can get with it facing down, so we'll have a look at that in a second. So that's the front camera, but our reverse was still bringing up no signal. And so normally if it says a no signal, it just means that your power connection is not right. So I'll check those, but basically everything's working okay. Just go check the rear camera out. So for the front camera here, you can see that's the image we're getting. When you come out of reverse, will come up, or you can bring it up like this. So people, I normally use the front camera input to run a second camera. What I suggest doing is on the F cam here, you can see we've just powered it from this 12 volt here. That is coming off a camera input. That means the camera is only going to be powered when this app's open. And I'll show you what we've done. I ran the RCA around the outside of the car for now, just like that. We've plugged in here you don't even have to worry about these like wires here, because it's actually getting power from that like 12 volt up there, so you can actually chop like these off, and it actually gets ground from the video ground, so that works. And I've just sort of taped it in place there because I wanted to see where the best spot to put it is. You sort of can just like tape it and like work it out yourself, and decide where you want to like put it. They always look pretty good once you have them in, but it's just deciding where you want to have it mounted. So that's sort of your front camera here, and our camera's all happy now. That's why we test everything before we put it back in, just to make sure it's all looking okay. So that's basically that. Now when it comes to putting the units back in, make sure everything's plugged in. Now if you lift up all your wires here, if you sort of tighten up a little bit, like electrical tape as much as the next man, but you just want to leave yourself enough slack so that they can actually, because what you want them to basically do, you want a lot of them to drop down into here. Give yourself a bit of room out the back here. Make sure you keep out this one because that was for our AC panel. You want them all to sort of drop down a little bit if you can get that to happen. That, pushing into that. Now we'll just go through in the same way you took this out. You're going to put this one back in. Again, just no need to rush it. It's going to fit back in. Just make sure everything's sort of fitting in about right. You want to make sure your plastic clips are lined up okay. Now the issue we had here was our main deck was too low, so we will fix this at the factory. We'll like lift it up at the factory. If you do get one of our units and you're trying to put it in and you're like, hey, like, this bit's too low, what you do is you take off the two screws here and here, which are on both sides, and then you unscrew this, lift it up one position, screw it back in, and put the screws back in, and the main deck will come from here up to about here. I will adjust this at the factory, but just in case you get one that hasn't been and it's sitting too low, that's what you have to do. So you can see those have come up one level. Slide this back on and you just put your screws back on both sides like that, and that'll be all right, ready to go again. One extra step we have to do there is you've got 4 screws that hold the screen like the Facia. They will come off and the screen will like pop out because it was just too hard to get to these. We will update all the ones we have in the factory, and also we'll like change how we make them in the factory, and we'll put them up, and we'll update the ones in our warehouse. But this little video is just in case you get one of those ones that we haven't got to. That's what you need to do. Right, so everything's working. Make sure you have these all lined up. Good option. Just have a look in the sides that your clips are about in the right place. And then start from the top. So it's got the top going in, so you've got your clips out the back there, and you've got a clip about here. Get that sort of top part in, and then come and work your way down the fascia like that. So, and voila, that's in and looking awesome. I always like to do another check. See, I managed to get all our stuff pushing down here because the AC thing isn't too deep. This gives you enough room for everything back there. That's why I don't tape anything too tightly together. Again, I do like one more check, just make sure everything's still happening okay. Obviously, just well, we got sound. That's good. That's cool. So we've got our radio reception working. Steering wheel controls are working. Reverse cameras working, and then we haven't put it in here, but we do have a front cam here. So that's working as well. Take your AC, one plug as it was before, plug that in, and it's just going to sit back in where it was. Again, if you just do need to shift your things or move them, you can. We actually do have a bit more room under here, so you didn't have to push these down so far because we've actually lifted the end up a bit. And now that's the AC all back in. Now the AC, it's a tight fit because our fascia comes down here first. So just push the bottom in, and then our basically just got to sort of push it past our fascia. They'll kind of rub, and then it'll click in back behind it. But once it's in, it's all in. There you go, good job. Good head unit install. It's not too hard. You'd probably rate it a 2 out of 5, or 5 being hard, 1 being super easy. It's definitely not a 1. It's a 2. It's reasonably easy, but it just takes a little bit of time if you have to run the camera it takes a bit of time. But that's the head unit all in, everyone working, and all looking pretty good. So we've got everything going on, reverse camera, steering wheel controls, everything's pretty happy dappy. I will cover at the end of this video how we ran the reverse camera. Just covering here what we've left over, because some people will have a different model. Auxiliary, not needed. If you wanted to keep that auxiliary port I showed in the glove box, you could use that. Obviously those two are wires here, plug into ours too, and you can keep the auxiliary working. The brown one plugs into the back of our head unit. This one here is just a different cord for a different model head unit. This one here, I'm just trying to think. One of these covers a Polaris. I think this is the Polaris model here. Everything's hooked into it, so it's okay. Yeah, so those are the two different ones if you have different models. If you had like a factory reverse camera, you'd probably have a plug like this. This yellow one would then go into our purple RCA, and this is the reverse trigger here, wire here, which would go to our orange and black wire, which you can see on this harness here is called the reverse in. So you'd hook those two together. This here you'd be using, if you weren't using the pre-out, so you just use this, and it just saves space. It's the Bluetooth Wi-Fi antenna. Some models could have this for USB retention, factory USB port. So that was just like covering the like I guess the extra parts we have in our kit just for different like models, and explaining what they were and how come we didn't use them. Now reverse camera, you can see we're going to like mount it here. So we actually like flipped it on the harness, so because like normally that's how it needs to like mount. So we just unscrewed these and turned the camera up the other way, which means we can mount it like that. We're just going to screw it above the plate here, so it'll give us a good view in the middle. Now it's I come down back here, and you just need to hook our red and black here into the reverse light, positive and like negative. You can like normally like find it off the back of your trailer plug and like tap into it, or like we've actually like found it here in this plug. Again, like we found it in like that plug up there. You can just test like a multimeter and all take it from the back of the trailer plug is the best spot, because you can just Google the pin out for your 12-pin trailer plug or whatever one you have, and you can work out which like wire it is. Then we'll just like follow the other cables here down above the chassis rail. And we've ended up coming up through a grommet under there, which is just under the like passenger seat. You can just pull this trim off with your hand. We'll run it along here, up here, behind here, and into the back of the glove, behind the glove box, into the back of the head unit. The glove box pulls down by just compressing the sides in, so you just pull both like sides in, and these little like latches drop out. That's about it. And then behind here you can obviously see we've run our like USBs, and that's the factory USB. So that's everything we've done there, and we've just run an RCA and a remote wire here for the amp they're going to run, and that pretty much covers the reverse camera. And there's your like unit in there all looking awesome.